So today is all about a battle between two of the biggest smartphones of 2023 so far. And I mean that quite literally as well, because they're bastard massive. We're talking Xiaomi 13 Ultra versus the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It's the tussle of the century, a battle that the masses are screaming out for. Like James Corden's face versus a huge f***off mallet. Got some of the beefiest performance, some of the most capable camera tech here as well. I've used both of them as my full-time smartphone. So let's do a full side-by-side comparison, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now first up, I really hope you like your phones on the big size because these two are stupidly enormous. The Xiaomi 13 Ultra is very much the Wii of this pair at 6.73 inches versus the 6.8 inch Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. And gotta say, of the two, the Xiaomi is definitely the more comfortable to clutch, not just because it's a tiny bit smaller, but you've also got nicely rounded corners as well, whereas Samsung's almighty mobile is much more rectangular. It's like a proper candy bar effort from back in the day. But both phones feature rather weeny bezels surrounding that display, so this is no added bulk. You've got ever so slightly curved screens as well, but it's a lot more subtle compared with previous flagships. Those displays only dip ever so slightly around the edges, so they're practically flat. And both of these displays are protected by Gorilla Glass Victus, though it is the fresher and stronger Victus 2 here on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, so hopefully it should prove more scratch resistant. That said, Xiaomi has at least slapped a pre-installed screen protector onto the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, keep those scratches at bay. So similar-ish from the front, but flip them around and they couldn't be much more different. So Samsung's mighty blower has a Gorilla Glass Victus 2 rear, just like the front end, whereas here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, it's a sultry nanotech silicon leather back. Woof. And yeah, you may find yourself more drawn to the neat and tidy, smart finish of the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. At least that matte finish keeps fingerprints and grease and grime at bay. But personally, I'm much more of a fan of Xiaomi's gorgeous leathery style backing. It looks very sleek, very stylish, certainly very distinctive as well, stands out from the crowd, and it feels really nice when it's sat in your hand. However, while the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is already reasonably thick, Xiaomi really does take it to extremes with the 13 Ultra, especially in the top half of the phone where, as you can see, the back end actually raises up and then you've got that enormous camera bump on top. But anyway, after plenty of use and rough handling, no scratches or scuffs to speak of, and both of these blowers are IP68 water and dust resistant. When it comes to the software, both the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra and that Xiaomi 13 Ultra run Android 13. But the user experience is very different because while you've got Samsung's One UI launcher here on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, that's replaced with Xiaomi's MiUI launcher here on the 13 Ultra. And sure, some of the basics are the same, they've both got an apps tray for instance, but even little things like the notifications are handled differently. It's more of your standard Android style notifications panel here on the S23 Ultra. Whereas here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, you've got a separate notifications panel and control center with all of your toggles. Even the layout of the settings menu, very different. As you can see, there are different fonts and general styling. Now, I'm not going to bang on at length about the differences in the software because this video would stretch to hours. I will bring up little differences here and there as we're going through the comparison where appropriate though. One of the biggest differences when it comes to the general usability is Samsung's addition of the S Pen stylus. Now, if you're looking for a phone that's going to suit you for business purposes, so for instance, you edit a lot of documents, you sign a lot of contracts, all that kind of stuff on the fly, then this S Pen is really rather good. It's super easy to scribble some notes and then share them around. Or if you just like sketching or doing stupid crap like this, then yeah, wunderbar. For your security needs, well, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra sports an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. This actually takes a 3D image of your fingerprint, so it's super reliable, never really balks up. There on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, it is just your bog standard optical sensor, but so far I've got absolutely no grievances with it. It's again fast and responsive, only really seems to balk up when your hands are proper moist or whatever. And while it's undoubtedly less secure, you also have Face Unlock as a backup option on both of these blowers. Pop open those SIM trays and this is what you'll see, a double-sided SIM tray on both, but no space for micro SD memory cards, sadly. Luckily, you can grab the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra with up to 1 terabyte of storage, so hopefully you shouldn't run out anytime soon. And both these blowers also support eSIM. There's pretty good news on the software support front as well, because Xiaomi is offering 3 OS updates and Samsung slightly better at 4. So now let's have a shufty at those enormous displays. As I said before, Xiaomi's slightly smaller than the Samsung's at 6.73 inches versus 6.8 inches, but they're both OLED tech. Exactly as you'd expect from two of the most premium devices of 2023. Same resolution as well, Quad HD Plus, so it's 3200 by 1440 on the Xiaomi, 3088 by 1440 on the Samsung, so technically the Xiaomi's is ever so slightly sharper, but you obviously won't notice a difference, even when you stick them side by side. Because it's OLED tech, you get gorgeous contrast, inky, deep blacks, nice clean whites as well. And with its default output, the Samsung pumps out richer, more vibrant colors, but you can tweak the tones on both these panels, make things look natural or vibrant, whatever you prefer. And both the Samsung and the Xiaomi support HDR10 and HDR10 Plus streaming, but the Xiaomi also has Dolby Vision covered, something that Samsung just can't be bothered with. They're LTPO displays, so they scale all the way down to 1 Hz when they're not really in use, rising to 120 Hz with supported apps. And the Xiaomi technically is the brighter panel, peaking at 2600 nits versus 1750 on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. But certainly, even with Samsung's Glow, I had absolutely no issues with visibility outdoors, even when the sun does actually bother to shine. And you've got yourself a stereo speaker output on both the Galaxy S23 and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Let's start with the Samsung, do a side-by-side test. Really short on time this week because I only just got back from my usual traumatizing field trip to the US Embassy to renew my American visa. And I mean, the outside of the embassy is relatively intimidating, although they did kind of half-arse it. They really should have just made it look like Castle Grayskull to really scare the living out of hapless visa seekers. And now the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. That would have set me up very nicely indeed for the hour of dread spent lingering in multiple soul-sucking queues, followed by a frantic hand-flapping interview with a stony-faced official who just point-blank refused to accept this ridiculous charade that I call a career. I gotta say they're both very good. Certainly bump that volume all the way up to the maximum levels. You'll have no troubles hearing what is going on with either of these blowers, although I think that the Galaxy S23 Ultra's output is a little bit more tinny, a little bit more echoey compared with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which just sounds a bit more full-bodied. Both phones do offer Dolby Atmos support. You've got the usual equalizer shenanigans as well if you want to customize the output. And if you really like your phone to come with a headphone jack, well, you're out of luck with this pair because, as with pretty much every other premium smartphone out there, no headphone jack at all. You'll have to look to the likes of Sony's Xperia 1 smartphones for that. But you do have reliable Bluetooth 5.3 streaming with both of these handsets. Full support for LDAC, high-res audio, all that shenanigans as well. So certainly my Bluetooth streaming sessions, I thought music sounded crisp and detail-packed and no issues with lag or anything like that. And now performance, another area where both of these blowers absolutely excel because they are powered by Qualcomm's supremely beefy Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset. Somewhat surprisingly, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra did score significantly better in Geekbench compared with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, despite the fact that Samsung has apparently overclocked that chipset as well. Doesn't matter though, because Samsung's Galaxy S23 Ultra is just as slick and smooth as that Xiaomi 13 Ultra, no matter which apps and games you hoy at it. I have of course done extensive testing with the Genshin impacts on both of these blowers, and while they do get a little bit warm around back after you've been gaming for about an hour or so, neither phone showed any signs of throttling, slowing down, any troubles whatsoever. And this is naturally playing on the highest possible graphics settings at 60 frames per second. They both have a dedicated cooling system to help keep that pesky heat from buggering things up. The screens are nice and responsive as well for all your pokes and prods. However, if you are a really hardcore dedicated gamer, I'd say you might lean more towards the Xiaomi 13 Ultra because it does come pack in a proper full-on dedicated gaming mode. Absolutely stuffed full of useful tools and features that you'll really get a kick out of. In comparison, Samsung has a priority mode which can help block notifications, make sure you're not disturbed, but not much more than that. So battery tech, and what you've got stuffed inside both of these big old blowers is a 5000 mAh capacity cell. Gotta say though, I have been getting better battery life out of the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, usually about an hour of extra screen on time per charge. I've never even come close to draining this thing in a single day, whereas the Xiaomi 13 Ultra I've certainly come a lot closer. I've had it in the power saving mode a couple of times. Seems to be the camera that is the serious drain there, but when it comes to juicing them back up again, well, the Xiaomi is definitely the winner out of this too. You got 90 watt fast charging support, Samsung half of that, 45 watts, so it is a fair bit slower when it comes to powering back up again. Certainly with the Xiaomi, I'm a lot more comfortable not charging it overnight. I just bung a cable in it in the morning, go off, have my Weetabix, brush my teeth, and then by the time I come back, it's basically back to full. And both phones do support wireless charging as well. Once again, it is faster on the Xiaomi smartphone, although that thicker back and the slightly awkward camera bump and everything means it did not work on my own personal wireless charging pad, so you want to be careful there. So let's finish up this Ultra phone comparison with a squint at the camera tech, and it is again very different hardware on both. So for that primary shooter, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra rocks a 200 megapixel ISOCELL HP2 sensor of Samsung's own creation, and that's up against a massive 1-inch IMX989 sensor on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, although the megapixel count ain't quite as snazzy, 50 megapixels. So on a surface level, certainly for your lower light shots, it's a case of pixel binning versus bloody massive sensor. However, that's not all, because the Xiaomi 13 Ultra also has a very clever little party trick. A variable aperture lens which can swap between f1.9 and f4 to suit different lighting conditions and also alter the depth of field. So certainly if you adore a lovely bit of bokeh action, well, the Xiaomi is the one that will truly satisfy. Samsung has a scene optimizer mode while the Xiaomi has the Leica vibrant mode, so both can capture either a natural looking photo or can boost those tones to make things look a little brighter and bolder. In other words, both phones are likely to make their users happy as they can cater to a range of tastes. But that said, the S23 Ultra can produce brighter shots of your subjects when they are framed against a bright background. It is very impressive indeed in those HDR situations. And it can also produce some gorgeous blue skies when the whole lot isn't smothered with dark clouds. In more ambient conditions, well, both these phones still do the job nicely. They'll pack in plenty of finer detail without any noise or grain creeping in to ruin the shot, while also accurately capturing colours. And then in very low light, they both again pack an impressive amount of detail into every pic. Samsung's Ultra does pump out richer tones compared with the more natural shots of the Xiaomi, and yes, that's even with the Leica Vibrant mode enabled, so it just kind of depends on your own personal tastes. Now shifting on from the primary shooter, both of these phones offer not just a single telephoto lens, oh no, that would be far too basic. What you've got here is a pair of telephoto lenses on both of these phones. On Samsung, you got dual 10 megapixel telephoto shooters, one working at 3 times zoom, the other offering 10 times zoom, and that's 69 and 230mm focal length. On Xiaomi, it's dual 50 meg IMX858 sensors with 75 and 120mm focal length, 3.2 and 5 times zoom respectively. They both come pack in optical image stabilization so they can counter any hand tremble. When you punch into around sort of 30 times zoom and beyond, it's clear that Samsung is better at capturing stronger detail. But both can capture terrific amounts of detail from a ridiculous distance. Seriously, they will do the job for any kind of weird shit that you're up to. And then last up, both phones also offer a ultra-wide angle shooter. It's a mere 12 megapixel effort here on the Samsung versus the 50 meg on the Xiaomi. But both are solid if you want a different viewpoint, and Samsung is back on top when it comes to the high contrast shots. Plenty of other bonus camera modes chucked on both of these handsets as well, including the obligatory portrait mode of course. Got a dedicated pro mode, you can shoot raw images if you like. And for your home movie experiences, well, both the Xiaomi 13 Ultra and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra can shoot up to 8K resolution video footage. That's a pretty impressive image stabilization as well, so you can move and shoot at the same time if you like. And I was perfectly happy with the results spaffed out by both of these premium phones, although I think Xiaomi just about has it when it comes to low light videography. And then last up, flip around to the front and you've got a 12 megapixel selfie cam here on the Samsung, 32 megapixel on the Xiaomi. Personally, I think I prefer the Samsung effort because it makes me look like I'm ever so slightly tan. But both can certainly capture a clean, nice looking image even when you're shooting against a bright background or in quite an ambient environment. And when it comes to shooting the video, well, you can actually shoot 4K footage here on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, whereas it does top off at full HD here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, but both are absolutely fine for Skyping and Zooming and all that shenanigans. So that right there, in a nutshell, is how the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra stack up. So which is your favorite Ultra? It'd be great to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a really wonderful rest of the week. Cheers!